Okay, we are live. Welcome to another edition of the Realtor Success Series. This week we have Jessica Side, an owner of Realty One Group Eclipse and Team Evo Real at Realty One Group Eclipse. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Let's just start by you telling people that don't know you kind of about your business and you and so on and so forth. Sure.
So my name is Jessica Side, and I've lived in Spokane pretty much my whole life. I moved here when I was in kindergarten. Got into real estate after I had my first son. So that was about 16 years ago. And primarily, I actually got into the business because we were investing in real estate. And so after we had bought about a handful of houses, we realized that we were filling out the documents and then putting it on the under the door of the real estate agent. And we thought, maybe that's not the best idea. Right. So we decided that just because I was home with our son, that maybe I would be the best one to get the license. So I always say that Matt tricked me into getting my license. And so I started there, and then 2 years later, I got my broker's license and started my own company. So I've been doing that ever since, and it's evolved in a million different ways, since that time, it feels like.
Right. So where does the majority of your business come from now?
The majority of my business comes from my sphere. So if we track our numbers as closely as we can, which is really important. Like, that's just first tip I would give people is, at least on your closings, make sure you know where that originated, where the deal came from. And so we found that almost half of our business comes from our sphere. And then the other half comes from a lot of different various things that we do. So yeah, sphere is really important.
Okay. And I think a lot of what I've kind of noticed as we've done these is a lot of people say it comes from my sphere or I'm referral based.
Yeah.
What are 2 or 3 things you do to make sure those people either remember you or those kind of things?
Well, first, when you're first starting out, you got to tell people. And so just the simplest way to do that is send a letter. I mean, that's a really simple thing. Tony, I have a confession to make that I didn't start regularly mailing my sphere and really working that sphere until 5 years ago. So I've been in business for 16 years. It's the number one regret that I have. It's the number one mistake that I have. And it's the number one thing that I tell new agents. You've got to talk to your sphere. Those are people that a lot of them don't just like and trust you. They love you. They're aunts and uncles and cousins and, moms and dads and grandparents and people you go to church with or people that your kids go to school with. They're people that care about you. And so that's probably the biggest life lesson that I've had as a real estate professional, is that I should have done that a long time ago. Now, still people found me because my husband Matt and I were known, just as people who had invested in real estate, understood those types of things, and then got our license and started our company. So a lot of people knew that we did it, but I think a lot of people thought maybe we were too busy for them to be interested in their listing or whatever. And so I had to make sure I tell people about it. The other thing that I think is challenging for some people is I don't have a natural bent to be a salesperson. I'm more administrative in the way that I'm wired. And so it was very hard for me actually to send out that first letter and to just ask people to think of me as somebody that they would use until I kind of switched around and I said to myself, I need to provide for my family. At that time I had people on my team. And so I needed to make sure that my priorities were straight and that I believed in myself that I had something to offer them. So it's not about taking from my sphere, it's about giving to my sphere. And I think for myself, I had to finally get to the place where I trusted myself and knew that I had something to give. And when that switched in my mind, it was so much easier for me to market to my sphere because I didn't feel like I was taking away, but I was adding to.
Yeah, I think that's a huge issue I know I faced that in my, like, am I worthy of asking for business, or have I added enough value to do that? And I'm assuming that new agents go through that all the time. Like, well, I don't know everything I'm supposed to know. How do I ask for referrals? You know,
Yeah.
when do I earn them, or do I deserve them?
And I think that absolutely you have to commit yourself to the training. I mean, that really is important because, you can't kind of just, throw some stuff together, get some glue and MacGyver this thing. You gotta learn, you gotta learn how to do a listing. You gotta learn how to work with a buyer. You gotta learn by going to the home inspections and listening to the home inspector so that when you're walking through the property, you know what to look for. When you see calcium deposits in the basement, you know that is a water, and you can point that out to people. You're not going to tell them exactly, why or what, but at least you're educating yourself in whatever way you can. And when you do that and you couple that with caring about people, that really is a powerful dynamic. And so if you go into it saying, I may not know everything, but I can find those things out from my broker, from other people in my company, from home inspectors, all the different partners that we have, title company reps. And you say, I care about these people. I don't want them to get into a house that is going to be a money pit for them.
Right.
People can ask me, what is the best thing you do for your clients? One of the best things that I do for my clients is I tell them, don't buy this house.
Yeah.
I'm honest with them, and I'm not, and they see that genuine, whether it's me or another real estate agent, when you genuinely care about their well-being and not just your paycheck, that comes across. So,
Right. I really like that tip of going to the home. I've never heard that home inspection, listening to the home inspector. That's, one of the better takeaways.
Yeah.
In terms of, so that sphere, do you have kind of a call, like you call them this many times a year, mail them this many times a year? Kind of how do you break that down?
Well, I will say this, that, everybody's told 36 touches or 33 touches, or now, it's 42 touches. I don't know. Every year it's slightly different how many times that you should be reaching out to your people. And I want to say this first, because I think it's really important that, you're not necessarily going to have 33 touches in the first year that you are a real estate professional. Maybe you are, and maybe you're that kind of overachiever that you figure it all out. I didn't start with that many. I just started somewhere. So that's the first thing I would say, is start somewhere, whatever that is. Maybe it's, I love this tip, is that every day look and see who in your sphere is having a birthday on Facebook, and don't Facebook message them, call them.
Right.
So make that a way. That's one touch a year for every person in your database. Again, give more than you take. So I don't even remember the original question, but
I think the question was is there do you have a certain amount of touches, or how do you kind of strategize that?
So I would say the first thing that you need to do is look at all the things that you want to do. So at this point, I have about 42 touches, and that includes, a lot of different things. I still have to fulfill I have those planned out for this year. So I take my whole year and I look at it in months. I actually do it in a spreadsheet. So I'm going to do it like columns, like 12 columns, January, February, March, April, May, the whole thing. And then I try and strategize what I'm going to do each of those months. And that's going to be, it's going to vary a lot. I do some mailers. I think it's important to cut through the clutter by doing actual mailers. I do newsletters through email. I try and make those as personal as possible. For me, it's more important that they feel connected to me as a person rather than as a real estate agent. So there's always going to be that kind of, connection. But there are sometimes when my newsletter is just about family and, things that we all go through as, moms. And so that's kind of how I relate to the world. And then there are other times when that ties into some clever thing about real estate. But we do events. Events, I think, are extremely important. we do, we find ways to give them something that's fun and connects with us. So events is one way we do that. And of course, every time we promote that, that's also, a touch, whether that's a postcard or a phone call. So I think that it can be hard when someone's been doing it, and I've only been doing it for 5 years. So consistently. But there are other people that have been doing it for 20 years. And I think it can get, if you're brand new and you're going, I can't do all that. Just do something. I always tell my husband, when we first got married and our house would get really dirty, he would just stand in the middle of the room and go, I don't know what to do. And I said, oh my God, just do something. Pick that thing up and put it away. And I still tell my kids that when they get overwhelmed by how messy their rooms are, I'm just like, pick up that pair of pants and put that pair of pants away. The same thing is true with marketing. Like, I get it. You got tons of ideas. You want to have, you're going to have this calendar. Get one of those things done. Do one of those things. And, that's extremely important. There's a great phrase that as I was kind of preparing my very first year of sphere marketing, and it is the perfect is the enemy of the good. And it's a Voltaire quote. And it's really true. If you try and be perfect, if you try and be ridiculously creative, because that's another thing is that I tend to be somebody that wants to do something different than everybody else. And yet it was causing me to not do anything at all. And so just be careful of that. Do something, and then every year you can build on that. And the reason I say that is because I have not incorporated phone calls until this year. So I realized, God, what am I doing? Why are we not calling our spheres, regularly 4 times a year? And so that's for us something that's new. And when I say us, I'm talking about my team as well. We're incorporating that into our strategy.
I think it's interesting that you try to do it way better than everybody else. And I could see that being a roadblock. And then 2, we don't give ourselves credit for that, like you said, with the event, the marketing event, calling people to invite them, that counts as one. Give yourself some credit. You're going to
and that's the thing where it's again comes back to, I don't call my people and say, do you have a referral for me? Because personality wise, that's very difficult for me. But to call them up and say, hey, we want to invite you and your whole family to come and have a barbecue with us.
Yeah.
That's a super easy thing to do. And it's branded with my company, my team, Everreal. So I don't have to say, this is marketing. It's just, it's relational, and then it's reinforced. And then a lot of times it's funny because I'll walk into somebody's house who hasn't come to any of my events, and they'll say, oh, I know you keep inviting me to those events. I'm totally going to come one of these days. And I say, oh gosh, it's no problem. But they're thinking about it, and they just inviting them to that, even though they can't come, there is that connection. And so when it's time to sell their house, they call me.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good. I think that's 2 things. Like you said, the perfect and the, I haven't done anything yet. Well, you send them a text message, you send them, that counts. Every time you talk to them and they respond, it counts.
Yeah. A birthday wish counts. It all works together.
What, if in terms of, and I know $100 for some people, they spend way more. What's the best $100 you spend each month?
That's a really good question. If I were to really boil it down, my cell phone is probably the best. It keeps me connected and is I'm able to do work outside of being at the office. But okay, so beyond that, I would say my database. I pay for a program, and there's a million different programs that you can have. I probably have the cheapest program around. I mean, I think it costs me $36 a month. So I just want to have a central place to have all their names, all the phone numbers, all the emails, all the addresses, so I can, and it doesn't even, I guess it does make labels, but just the way I operate, we're downloading all of that and then sending it to a printer or doing something else with it, but a centralized place to have all your people and then add to those. Honestly, for us, it seems like a really silly, simple thing, but that $36 is gold. So
what program is that? Because I would imagine a lot of people listening are like, I need something that's $36.
yeah, exactly. So I use a program called I don't pronounce it. It's IX Act. So it's iExact Contact is the name of it. Super cheap. They do a canned newsletter. I always change the canned piece of it, but I originally got it because you could schedule it and it would go out whether or not you had personalized it or not. So you can go through, like I can look at the last however many years I've been doing the newsletter, and I can see when it was customized and the months that I like screwed it up and I didn't customize it because it doesn't have a customized subject line. It just has, my generic one. But I thought, you know what, at least it was going out. Now I'm very consistent with it. We don't miss a month, but there were times when, 4 out of the 12 were just their default. And they're not very good, but they're something. Again, right? Good is good enough.
Yeah. I think that's like you said, we all want to like be the perfect one, but let's do something. And then as time goes on, that can be something that you add into the schedule.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of the very first things that I did, and it gave me 12 touches a year. Boom, like that.
There you go. Now you only got 32 to keep up with Jessica Side. Or 30. I should 30. That's bad.
Come on. Don't overplay that.
So obviously the sphere, but what's the best thing you do as a realtor?
Well, I think I'm honest and I care about my clients. I know everybody, hopefully no one is dishonest, but sometimes it's painful to be honest. There are times when there are situations where maybe you screwed up or which I can't imagine any of us would ever mess up. Being honest with them, honest about, I tell my agents all the time, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but I know how I can find out. I can find out for you. I can help you find the person that can tell you that information. So that's one of the things I do. I care about my clients. I really care whether or not they get the right house. And so that drives me to work a little bit harder. And again, I think that most people have those attributes inside them, and don't be afraid to let that be the thing that leads you. And let that be rather than the paycheck or the putting up a front, to say, well, I'm perfect and I know everything. And I don't know everything. And so I'm always learning, and I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but that's my answer.
I think it's good because I think that I was talking to a new agent the other day, and as we were talking, he said, well, I just want to learn all this stuff before I go like really help clients. And I'm like, go help clients, because you're going to, at the end of the day, like when you do your first transaction, you're not going to know what you're doing anyway. So just might as well learn it as by doing it.
Yeah. I'll give one. I was just going to say one really practical tip though, because I think there are things that you can do, like going to home inspections, is actually previewing homes. Like just go and look at every home in a specific area, and look at, when you walk through, look at the price, look at as if you're the one buying it. Because if you don't know the market, it's hard for you to walk into a house because the buyer is going to ask you, well, what do you think? Is this priced right? Now, sometimes I don't answer that question. I say, I'm going to go back to my office and I am going to run comps. Actually, today, I literally walked through a house with some folks and I said, initially, I feel like this is overpriced, but let me go do some run some comps and just see, because I don't want to just off the top of my head. But, previewing homes, when you're brand new and you don't know what you're doing, see as many homes as you possibly can and look at the price differences and try and figure out why it's not selling or whatever. So, yeah,
if you're a chef, you taste the food.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you will feel more confident then when you have somebody, if you have somebody who says, I really want a house in Shadle, don't wait for them to be ready to go look at those houses. You go look. As a new agent, you've got to know what the inventory is and what it looks like and how it feels to walk into a good deal. That's the big deal, right? Like walk into a house and go, guys, this is a good deal. Cause I've been through 30 houses in this area and this one's a good deal. So.
Awesome. What's one thing you're working on this year?
That is super easy. Video.
Nice.
And that's not a plug for Tony, because I know Tony does a lot of video and helps real estate agents with video. But this has been something that I've been talking about with my team for probably 3 years, like saying, oh, this year I'm going to do such and such. This year I'm going to do such and such. Well, this year I actually am doing it. I've committed to 2 significant videos per month to my sphere. Again, we push this out to my sphere because that's more important and I want to connect with them. And then we're able to then use it for other things like social media, but it's not necessarily for social media. I'm letting that be a byproduct. I'm trying to speak more specifically to my sphere. And so 2 videos a month is my commitment. And it took let me give you something super practical that I did. So first of all, I have a good microphone so that my videos sound better. I use an extra light. It's like a little light that was in my son's room, and I bring it out for my videos. So there's good lighting. And I have a basket, and in my basket, I have everything I need for my videos. So I have my if I'm going to, sometimes I like to write things on a piece of paper and hold them up. I have all my Sharpies that I need. I'm super practical. I use a towel so it doesn't scratch my table or my desk. And I put all that stuff in one basket. So I don't have any excuses not to pull out the basket and do my video when I need to. So, and I set aside a specific day to do those videos. And that's all I do. And my whole team knows I'm going to do these videos. I'm going to edit those videos, whatever I need to do. I have a Mac, so it's easy for me to do. So I know that's super practical, but sometimes it's those little hurdles that stop you from doing the one thing that you want to do. So I finally, this year, I think I've got it figured out. So we will be having consistent video footage.
Awesome. I think 2 good points there, or I guess one point is video doesn't always have to go out to everybody. Like it doesn't have to be on social media. It's a matter of again, go back to the 42 touches or whatever. Right. Or even if it's 1 million touches, use that as part of it. And then I think one thing people don't do is they don't feel comfortable on video.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I did it for a long time. I do 3 of them a week and I still don't feel super comfortable.
Yeah.
How did you get over that hurdle?
Well, I mean, I think my first video that went out was 3 minutes long and it took me 2 hours to record. So I think just repetition and doing it. Honestly, part of it was I looked at I can see my video right now. I looked at my video and I thought, I don't really like the way I look in that. So extra lighting really helped. Another video that I do it from further away because I feel a little bit uncomfortable talking for 10, even though I'm doing this with you, I feel a little uncomfortable talking that closely to my video. So the other one is a little further away across the room. For a woman, any imperfections that I might feel that day, I don't feel as right in the, so I think it's just a matter of doing it over and over again. And you start to feel more comfortable as you record over and over and over again. It's helpful. So.
Yeah, it certainly gets more comfortable as you go on. It's just a matter of getting you got to jump in the water and then eventually the water warms up. Or
actually, you know what? I say that it took me 2 hours. It actually took me more than that because the first day I didn't like anything that I did and I didn't even use it. And my kids were playing with my video stuff and the whole evening people were recording and doing funny things. That whole day was a complete loss, but I was figuring out how to do it and what I wanted to do. And I just was committed. I try not I started out with those 12 newsletters, right? And then I kind of added stuff during the year. This is the thing I'm adding this year. And it's one of the only things I'm not adding a million other things. So it's this is the focus. This is the thing I'm going to do. And I think for people who are just starting out, video is really, don't wait 5 years to start video. It's so important and relevant right now. You should definitely do it and get past your own fears and make it happen. So just like I tell my husband, just pick something up and do it. Just pick video up and do it.
Right. Yeah. In 5 years, it'll be something with robots, something like that. How do you, with kids, with all you got, with owning a brokerage and running a team and trying to run a business, how do you manage your time with all of that?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is probably more philosophical than it is business, but I absolutely put my family first. So we're going to, pretty soon here, I'm going to stop talking to you and I'm going to go pick up my daughter from school. It's just, I found for myself, and this is just for me, that my soul needs time with my children beyond just like coming back at 5 o'clock at night. So, picking up my kids every day and talking to them about their school day has been really important to me. So prioritizing that has been really important. And the reality is you can't do everything. And so I have to, I don't work with every client that walks through our door. I give those to other people on my team. There are lots of opportunities out there that I don't take advantage of, but I'm a happier person for that. So, and there are seasons, like my kids none of them are in diapers anymore. My youngest is 7. And so there is some flexibility on weekends and stuff like that. It's not like they need me all weekend. So I can definitely work with clients on weekends. But I do let every listing and buyer, every seller and buyer I work with, I talk about how quickly I'll get back to them on questions and things. And I say, hey, I'm going to get back to you as quickly as possible during the day. If I see it's you, I'm going to pick up that phone. But I want to let you know that evenings and weekends, my kids are the higher priority. And if I can't answer, I won't answer, but I will get back to you. And they all understand, as long as you set that precedent. Most of them are just like, oh yeah, absolutely. You need to spend time with your family. So, for when my son was in diapers, which wasn't that long ago, I started working like really intensely at night until 2 a.m. When I was working on some projects that I needed to get done, he'd go to bed and I'd start really cruising through stuff. So, I just found ways to make it work. So as a mom, if you're a mom out there, that balance is really hard. And I found that if I don't feed my soul with the things that make me happy and make me feel fulfilled, that I'm no good at work either. And I'm a pretty unhappy person. So I've just found that I'd rather make a little less money and have more time with my kids. So.
Right. I think that's come up the past few episodes of this show. The ability to just tell a client that when you're new, you don't. You're just like, I'll just answer the phone whenever. And then as you grow up in the business, you have the ability to say, like, these are the times I'm not available, or not necessarily not available. You're in second position or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I always say to new agents, if I could give them advice, that would be it. Like, get to the point where you say, this is when I'm available and I will always answer the phone, and this is when I'm not, and I will always get back to you.
Yeah. And I also have brokers. And so I get a lot of phone calls. Luckily, I have an amazing team. And so they take a lot of the questions, about some of our like Fannie Mae listings and things like that. And so I've been able to delegate those things, but my brokers that I work with constantly, answering their questions and helping them with that. But every once in a while, if I'm in the car with my kids, I'll say, hey guys, so-and-so is calling me. Do I have your permission to take this phone call? Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'll say, please don't. And I go, okay, I won't. I think it's important that they understand that you guys are important to me, and this conversation that we're having is important to me. And I need to know how you feel about me taking it. Sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, it's fine, Mom, go for it. And other times they'll say, yeah, don't answer. And so I do try and give them some of that, authority over me.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. What books, podcasts, people do you kind of follow in the, I guess, business / real estate industry?
Yeah. Right now, The only kind of podcast and regular thing that I kind of find myself watching is Tom Ferry.
Okay.
I really like his stuff, and they're bite-sized pieces, so I can kind of ingest them easily and go, okay, how can I apply that? I would say as a general rule, though, I think I take more in terms of like, what do I want to work on right now? Like, do I want to get better at helping my agent? I want to help my agents do open houses better. Then I'm going to Google that, and I'm just going to look for anything that gives me, and you get lots of different perspectives. I love YouTube. I think YouTube is amazing. Even for real estate, you can find so many different people out there talking about what they do and how they do it. And again, you gotta look at all of that and go, okay, I got to take a piece of that and I got to run with that until I've got that. And then I can incorporate these other things. So don't get yourself overwhelmed. But those are the two things that I would say I do more. I love business books. I find, Built to Last and those kinds of things really interesting to listen to. But when it comes down to like just real estate related, those are the things that I do. Yeah.
Awesome. I really like the advice of just instead of necessarily following people, even though I asked that question, Googling topics like open houses, I think is a good strategy because you'll end up finding Tom Ferry or whoever it is.
Yeah. And and when you look at Tom Ferry, he does his like mega open house, and it's mega a lot to deal with, and you might not be ready to like mega do that. So look at that and go, okay, what can I implement right now? And look at his mega thing as maybe a goal to set in, the next 6 months, I want to be able to do that, but I have to have enough money to have 20 signs or, whatever that looks like start somewhere. And one more piece of advice. Don't test something for a month and think it doesn't work. Like you have to do something over and over and over and over and over again before you can throw that out and say that didn't work. I think a lot of people are we're so consumer based and we so want things to be fast. Even sphere marketing, like, well, I did sphere marketing for 6 months and it didn't work for me. Well, that is not how that works. Be consistent. So whatever amount of money you have, make sure that whatever you're going to put it toward is something that is going to be longer term and going to be consistent because you're going to get that return over time and not just like one big blast and everyone's going to want to call you. It doesn't work like that. So if you're going to do open house strategy, do it for 12 months and do it consistently for 12 months. If you're going to do farming, do that for 12 to 24 months. Maybe make adjustments along the way, but you can't just do it for 3 months and think that you're going to get some kind of amazing result and not have to work another day in your life.
Right. Yeah. Never happened. Wish it did, but it doesn't. So, well, thank you for taking time. The first lady of the YPN.
Oh, that's funny.
For those of you that don't know, she's married to the president of the YPN.
Yeah, we call him El Presidente around here. My 16-year-old has fun with that title.
I bet. So we appreciate it. And we will see you next week on the Realtor Success Series.
All right. Bye.